No Babysitters Allowed by Stuart. Hopscotch was a brave boy. He was so brave, he could take a spider that came visiting back out to the garden when Mommy was scared. And when he fell off his tricycle and had to have a band-aid on his leg, he didn't cry at all. There are many things that Hopscotch could do very, very bravely. But when Hopscotch realized that tonight was Mrs. Honeybunch, the babysitter night, he didn't feel brave at all. I have a tummy ache, Mommy, Hopscotch said, hopefully. You can't go out when my tummy is worried. Mrs. Honeybunch can give you a warm milk for that. Daddy smiled and kissed him better. Rabbity can have some too. Run along now, we'll be fine, said Mrs. Honeybunch kindly. Mommy was looking as worried as Hopscotch. Hopscotch and Rabbity pressed their noses to the goodbye window, still waving long after Mommy and Daddy had turned the corner out of sight. Now, Hopscotch, said Mrs. Honeybunch, what shall we do? Shall we paint a picture? Hopscotch and Rabbity just pressed their noses closer to the goodbye window and gave a little sniff. What about building a car? Suggested Mrs. Honeybunch. They gave a slightly bigger sniff. I know, said Mrs. Honeybunch brightly. Let's play hide and seek. Hopscotch shook his head sadly. No, thank you, he sighed. I think I'll play hiding and no seeking all by myself. And off he went to hide in the special no babysitter allowed camp that he had made earlier in the day. Rabbity stood guard outside. Hiding is fun when someone is seeking, but hiding on your own when no one is looking for you is very boring, as Hopscotch soon discovered. There was not much to do in his camp, especially with Rabbity on guard duty. It might have been fun to build a car or paint a picture. So when he heard Mrs. Honeybunch ask if Rabbity would like to hear a story while he guarded the entrance, Hopscotch pricked up his ears, especially because it was one of his favorite bedtime stories. But then the strangest thing happened. Mrs. Honeybunch got the story mixed up. She started in the middle, confused all the names, and then made up the story altogether. And she did this with not one book, not two, but three, until Hopscotch couldn't stand it anymore. Mrs. Honeybunch, he said, you're reading the stories all wrong. You're mixed up. Oh dear. Sweetheart, am I? Mrs. Honeybunch smiled. Perhaps you could help me out. So Hopscotch very patiently told Mrs. Honeybunch about the stories in the books, and then showed her how to build a race car, and last of all, how to paint a picture of a lovely sunny day. Then Mrs. Honeybunch showed Hopscotch how to make a delicious warm milk and tucked him into bed. Much later that evening, Mommy tiptoed into his bedroom to give him a kiss goodnight. How is your tummy, sweetheart? She asked. My tummy isn't worried anymore, whispered Hopscotch sleepily. And if she wants, Mrs. Honeybunch can come and play again. The end.